Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
In Italy, for nation's sake, our heroes fight for gold. From Milan to Dolomite Peaks, they brave the frigid cold. It's been 12 years since Gary's let the best players in the world to take the ice and pay the price neath iconic flags unfurled. Though a medal for one's country is a prize beyond compare, the games are famed mongst fantasy-brained as a source of pulled-out hair. Remember well Al Barkov's knee and Henrik's aching back, Johnny T's torn ligaments, and Zook's hand bones all cracked. Hockey gods, your cruelty legend, known crosslands wide and far, protect our players through these weeks from injuries bizarre. Already we have borne the pain of Jack Hughes' glass in shards, forget not Penner's pancakes or Sakic's blower in the yard. In Italy, keep them safe from ruts, blocked shots, and crushing checks, so we might resume our season without our IR's wasted wrecks. This we ask, although we know the hockey gods capricious, care not at all that we should fail with no lesson there to teach us. But humbly now we ask our boys reach fair Verona's close, in perfect health with metallic wealth on display, grandiose. What's up, champs? Welcome to another episode of the Short Shifts Fantasy Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Keeping Karlsson. I'm your host, Louis Ezekiel, here to take you for a run around all the latest news and notes from the league. I hope you enjoyed the Olympic hockey benediction poem that you heard at the start of the episode. That was a request from patron Sir Kevin. A little amulet of protection for our boys headed over to play in Italy during the break. But let's jump right into it here. And I want to start with one of the really exciting success stories of the season. And that is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Anthony Mantha and Igor Chinakhov, both really hot right now. Mantha got some discussion on the Mega Show. He did lose some lineup position with Brian Rust's return from 3 games of suspension. It bumped Mantha down the lineup to line 3 and off of power play 1, but he continued his scoring ways Tuesday against the Islanders. I think this is a guy that I would be looking to probably sell high or be ready to move on from when that shooting cools off. 6 goals on his last 13 shots. But Chinakhov actually, I think, is quite interesting. He leads the Penguins in goals with 8 since joining the team on January 1st. 2 ahead of Crosby during that time, 1 ahead of an unsustainably crazy hot Connor Dewar. He's playing 12 to 16 minutes a night on line 2 with Malkin and Novak. 5 goals, 2 assists, 18 shots in his last 7 games. He's not shooting as crazy high percentage-wise, and unlike Mantha, Chinakhov didn't get 5 points of his recent streak while playing up the lineup in a spot that he doesn't have anymore. Mantha was taken towards the end of last week, and I was looking at Chinakhov and Evangelista for my last ad. I ended up taking Evangelista while my opponent took Chinakhov, who leads right now with 2 goals and 1 assist on the week so far. Evangelista has 3 assists, but has only played the 1 game. So we'll see how that wraps up, but that'll be an interesting little head-to-head battle there since both of us made our moves around the same time with a last remaining move in preparation for this week. But Chinakhov's certainly a great pick. It's not necessarily a head-to-head measure, right? It's adding on to my opponent's total, which is working nice for him. We'll jump over to the Sharks. Coach Warsofsky had hinted at some significant changes to the power play with the way they had struggled lately, with Kiefer Sherwood joining the team and looking to be ready to go in the near future. That seems to have been a catalyst of sorts as well. So we've seen so far in practice, Sherwood playing on line 1 and power play 2. That displaces Connor Graf, who will no longer have that Celebrini access, at least in the short term, as he was down on line 3. And then those power play changes that were hinted at, we're now seeing a 5-forward power play with Celebrini on the point, Toffoli at the bumper, Smith and Eklund on the flanks, and Wenberg playing net front. If things remain this way, and if they are able to produce much of anything, it's possible that they will. That definitely makes John Klingberg an unpalatable own. He was scratched the last game. He was practicing on power play 2. So yeah, I would be looking to get out of any Klingberg you might have picked up. He had an okay week last week, but it is once again time to move on from him. And I think a lot of the beat writers have sort of been calling for this sort of change as well. Staying out west, we can talk about Vancouver and Elias Petterson. Not any good news here for the Pettersson owners, I'm afraid, but it's been really, he's been a really unpleasant player to roster this season, although he has had, some moments where things seem certainly better than they had been in seasons past. But this recent cold streak, the really scary part about it is the way that shooting has fallen off a cliff. And of course, the scoring that sometimes accompanies that shooting has been gone as well. He's been back for 20 games since returning from injury. And the difference is really quite stark. From December 20th to January 13th, during the course of 10 games returning from injury, Pettersson managed 5 goals, 1 assist, 25 shots for a pretty reasonable 20% scoring rate. January 15th to February 2nd, another 10-game stretch, 0 goals, 6 assists, so the same number of total points, but only 9 shots on goal. 4 shots coming in 1 game against the Isles. The other 8 games, he took 1 or 0 shots. I'm not necessarily thinking injury struggles unless he re-aggravated something and is playing through it, because he was decent when he returned. I think you could try to sell. Vancouver looking like they do, it seems kind of tough. I would take the approach that, I recommended in a very kind of different situation with Ovechkin, but let him rebound at least a little bit before you start to try to sell him so that you can get a couple peanuts instead of just the one. But yes, very grim, certainly, for Elias Petterson. We've got a whole bunch of injury news and other updates. We'll get to them on the other side of a short break. You're listening to Short Shifts.
Super Bowl 60 deserves a sportsbook built for the moment. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60, puts you right in the center of the biggest game of the year. Anything can happen during the Super Bowl, and DraftKings has your back with early exit. If your player goes down in the first half, you still get paid in cash when your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. While other sportsbooks don't offer injury protection, DraftKings covers the entire first half, even the second quarter. And early exit works on live bets too. Pre-game or in-game, DraftKings has you covered. It says here I should talk about the Super Bowl and Mike's. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. My work is actually hosting a Super Bowl party. There's going to be like free food and drinks. I think I'm going to check it out. New to DraftKings, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-78-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Welcome back to Short Shifts. Let's jump into some injury and outjury news here. At the top of the injury list, we have Zach Benson. Benson took a hard hit and crashed into the boards behind the net. Seemed uncomfortable, but not terribly injured. Coach Lindy Ruff said he would be evaluated when the Sabres return to Buffalo, which means it wasn't serious enough, to be seen immediately, clearly, but will, kept him out on Tuesday and may keep him out later in the week as well. That did bring Short Shift's fave rave, Consta Hellenius, back into the lineup, playing on line 3 with Josh Doan and Noah Östlund. And that also led to Peyton Krebs skating on the top line with Thompson and Tuck. Nothing really of note for Hellenius or Krebs in a 4-3 overtime loss for the Lightning. we'll use that as an opportunity to mention Nikita Kucherov notched 4 more points in that game. He now has 71 points in the last 32 games, is unbelievably scorching, and is within a handful of points of McDavid for the league lead. Getting back to Buffalo, Krebs interests me if Benson was of interest, but I would look at it as pretty short term. I wouldn't count on Krebs holding it too long, and that may mean that a move isn't worth it. My layman's eye and best guess saw a grimace on Benson's face, but nothing that a few weeks of Olympic break recuperation couldn't fix. In other Buffalo injury news, we got a small update on Josh Norris from where we stood at the Mega Show on Sunday when Brian and Elon updated us on him. Norris won't skate Wednesday. He didn't play Monday or Tuesday, obviously, and they'll have to decide whether they want to use him on Thursday. My take is, why would you? They've been fine without him. It seems like a mistake to me to put him in to play a game instead of just resting a couple extra weeks. I think that is the approach to take with the world's only sentient and hockey-playing Fabergé egg in the body of Josh Norris. Some other injury and outjury news. Logan Thompson was scheduled to return on Thursday for the Capitals matchup versus Nashville. This will give them the chance to breathe a sigh of relief after they started Clay Stevenson, who got some talk on the Mega Show Sunday as well in back-to-back games. They beat the Islanders 4-1 with David Riddick in goal for the Isles. They lost to the Flyers on Tuesday 4-2. I imagine they'll be glad to have Thompson back, someone with a little more NHL experience. So not a ton to work on there, but good for Thompson owners to get him back in the lineup. Don't necessarily assume it's going to be an easy outing versus Nashville. They have been scoring quite a lot more. Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, and Stamkos, of course, kind of leading the way for the team. Adding on as well to some notes about the Bruins, more evidence that you should not be worried if you are an Elias Lindholm or a Pavel Zacha owner. Marco Sturm said their eligibility for the Olympics would be determined by their national team docs, but he believes they are both going to be able to play. So if you are joining, Fraser Minton in his spot that he is having that power play opportunity, like they said on Sunday, don't get too used to it. It is likely going to be rather fleeting. And then one more Mega Show update. Jack Hughes did not play on Tuesday. The staff has said that they are uncomfortable with his recovery to play, and that Thursday could potentially be an option for him to return. So it's another wait and see type situation. Keep your eyes on game day tweets to get the latest lines and other updates so that you will have the best possible information. But of course, as they said on the big show Sunday, it is getting a little difficult to be a Jack Hughes drafter given the injury history. I think it'll be very interesting to see where he ends up being drafted next year. I could see him certainly falling out of the first round with how tough things have been. I don't know how much further he's going to fall beyond that, but could be a really nice discount for someone if you can avoid some of these injuries, which don't necessarily seem to be Band-Aid boy style injuries necessarily. At least, cutting your hand on a glass is obviously just some terrible luck. But it does make you wonder, can he hold up effectively for you? Is he going to be worth the kind of price tag that he might demand at the draft table? So yeah, I'm interested to see where he ends up. We'll do patron rankings over the summer. And I am very curious to see where the patrons think he belongs in the hierarchy for the draft next season. We got a couple updates on Florida teams that gave us some injury updates for the Lightning. Anthony Cirelli and Nick Paul missed Tuesday's game and will miss Thursday, as will, no surprise, Braden Point. So just running a little thin, although they were able to defeat Buffalo in overtime, as I mentioned previously. Oliver Bjorkstrand is a little interesting. He remains a power play ace. 8 of his last 9 goals are power play goals. And of that group that is out and injured right now, only Point really is a threat to anyone's power play deployment. I don't think that's an ad that I'm looking to make, but it is nice to see him with goals in back-to-back games after a 5-game Point drought. And he seems to be fitting in nicely on that power play. So if you are maybe in a categories league, a deep categories league that counts power play points, it could be a nice option for you, a relatively low-owned player who can pitch in some scoring and power play categories. Also worth noting, JJ Moser has come on a little bit with 3 assists in his last 4 games, 9 shots and 10 blocks during the course of those games as well. Not a ton of shooting, but he has nearly as many shots as Cale Makar has over his last 4 games. We'll talk about him in just a little bit. I am imagining that my buddy Shams might be shuddering to hear me even mention a defenseman like Moser, but I will also say that Shams, the Game Day Tweets guru, told me if he's going to have any interest in a non-Power Play 1 defenseman, it better be someone who is shooting and blocking and playing 22 to 26 minutes a night. So I look at JJ Moser and he fits the bill. That could be someone who, might be worth keeping an eye on, especially with obviously Tampa scoring the way that they are. He seems reasonably appealing for someone like me who, went out of his way to not draft much in the way of defensemen. I am rostering freshly demoted from Power Play 1, Cam York and John Klingberg. The other free agents in my division right now are guys like Nikishin, Zadorov, Doughty. All are pretty meh. But I definitely like the recent trend with Moser, and it's somebody that I've got an eye on as an option, somebody with a decent floor with the shooting and blocking that he's doing. And if Tampa can continue to score this explosively, even with some injured players, they managed another 4 goals here on Tuesday, could be an opportunity for JJ Moser to continue to, be a bottom of the roster, fantasy relevant defenseman. That list that I was running off also gives me an opening to mention for my prospect heads that Zane Parake returned for Calgary on Monday. He logged a shot and a block in 20 minutes with power play 2 time. Nothing that is especially exciting, but maybe something to keep an eye on, especially for folks in deep keepers or, of course, dynasty leagues. Where I imagine he is owned, but it's good to see him getting more NHL opportunity. For the other Florida injury updates, I want to jump over to the Panthers. As of right now, we are kind of in a wait and see situation with Lundell, Bennett, and Marchand all possibly out for Wednesday, Thursday. Keep an eye on Game Day Tweets because that could mean some juicy opportunities for depth players if you have room on a back-to-back. Guys like Eetu Luostarinen, Evan Rodrigues, Mackie Samoskevich could potentially be interesting options for that back-to-back depending on where they are slotted throughout the roster. And of that group, only Rodrigues is above 5% rostered on Yahoo at a whopping 6. So I imagine those guys will be pretty widely available for the Wednesday, Thursday games. If you got open spots, you could do a lot worse than somebody lining up next to, say, Sam Reinhart. I want to end with one cold streak of note that was not discussed on the Mega Show. I know Nathan McKinnon came in and got a little bit of discussion there, but Cale Makar has shared in those struggles recently as well. 4 games with no points doubles his previous longest pointless streak of the season. During that time, he's been -3 with only 10 shots on goal. Of course, 10 shots over the course of 4 games. I was just getting very excited about JJ Moser having 9 over 4, but this is Cale Makar we're talking about, right? He has set the bar extremely high for us. He single-handedly dragged other defensemen up the draft rankings on his coattails because, the distance between him and, your other not first round defenseman, but your other top defenseman, was vast, but people also wanted to get in on those D-men. Of course, we all realize in retrospect that Darren Radish should have been our pick after Cale Makar, but that is only obvious to us in hindsight. I believe 2 more points for Radish here on Tuesday. Okay, so back to Makar. Obviously, I am not telling you to trade him if you are listening to this show. However, if you are in a league with someone who is pretty desperate to pop now in order to remain in contention or risk falling out of playoff position, you may never get another chance like this to buy low on Makar this season. There are heavy air quotes implied on that buy low. You can't see it because this is an audio format, and I am very visually doing my Seinfeld style air quotes. So just trust me on this one. But don't insult this owner by, sending them a crummy offer. But if there was a time to give it a shot, a 4-game point streak, which he has not matched otherwise this season, is a real opportunity to, maybe get the inside edge and poke around and potentially offer a move there. The other hot streaks and cold streaks, not a ton of note. That was one that really stood out to me. So I believe we have hit the end of our solo skate here. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, greatly appreciated. If you enjoyed the show, please consider joining the Keeping Karlsson Patreon group at keepingkarlsson.com/patron, where super supporters receive ad-free episodes. And you can chat with Brian, Elon, the Short Shifts crew, and hundreds of other talented fantasy managers on our active Discord server. You can also register to take over a cupful team and get a little bit of practice in the world's largest, greatest, and most competitive fantasy hockey league, and then decide maybe if you want to join us properly in next fall and join a division and get to draft. It's a really great opportunity to get to know the league a little bit. You can bring some advantage into your draft next season. Check out GameDayTweets.com. I mentioned it a few times throughout the course of the show. I am using it constantly. Get all the best information from X, including team by team and searchable tweets by player name, all very carefully curated by Elon and Shams, who we were discussing whether they should be top 50, top 25, or top 2 people who know reliable sources online for all NHL teams. You can visit that site and the other great sites we use to research our episodes at Yahoo, Frozen Tools, and Natural Stat Trick. Our intro and outro music was created by Pat Roach. The intro poem written by yours truly. And until we see you next time, play smart and keep your shifts short.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.